The moderator recognizes Commissioner Lynn Bova, moderator of the Committee on General Assembly Procedures.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Lynn Bover, and I am a ruling elder commissioner from Maumee Valley Presbytery and moderator of Assembly Committee on General Assembly Procedures, Committee number 3. This committee has the responsibility of recommending to you at the conclusion of this assembly a balanced per capita budget for 2013 and 2014. According to an interpretation approved by the 207th General Assembly in 1995, per capita is an opportunity for all communicant members of the Presbyterian Church through the governing bodies to participate equally, responsibly, and independently by sharing the cost of coordination and evaluation of mission, of performing ecclesiastical, legislative, and judicial functions that identify a Reformed church, while at the same time strengthening the sense of community among all Presbyterians. It also includes the cost of conducting this discernment process, all the logistical details that are involved in conducting the General Assembly meetings, and keeps us connected as a covenantal church. The per capita expenditure budget proposed at the beginning of this assembly totaled $13,871,110 for 2013 and $14,199,728 for 2014. During the course of this assembly, you may approve actions that will have financial implications on the per capita budget in 2012, 2013, and 2014. The per capita apportionment rate for the current year, 2012, is $6.63 per member, and this cannot be changed in mid-year. Therefore, any financial implications to the 2012 budget may have to be funded from reserves. Based on the proposed per capita budget for 2013 and 2014 and adjustments to the revenue, the Committee on the Office of the General Assembly and the General Assembly Mission Council, after careful consideration, are recommending a per capita apportionment rate of $6.80 per active member for 2013 and $6.98 for 2014. This represents an increase in 17 cents for the year 2013 and 18 cents for 2014, projected to be less than the average inflation for each year. At the beginning of business sessions between now and Saturday, we will present a brief summary each day of the cost of actions the Assembly has approved so far and display the amount by which this will increase current and future budgets, as well as the total implications of actions yet pending. On the screen and on the financial implications report number 1, made available to you on PC Biz in the plenary section referenced 00-F1, you can see the total financial implications of actions recommended by Assembly committees and pending before you, based on the committee reports that have been completed yesterday. You will be voting on all of the following expenditures. For 2012, a total of $600. For 2013, a total of $356,048, and for 2014, a total of $240,457. If you approve all the items with financial implications recommended by the Assembly committees, this would represent an increase in the General Assembly per capita rate of approximately 18 cents per member in 2013, 13 cents in 2014. On Saturday morning, the Committee on GA Procedures will present to the Assembly its final recommendations for balancing the per capita budget for 2013 and 14. Fellow Commissioners, your careful and prudent actions will help to keep the increase of per capita apportionment to a minimum. Mr. Moderator, this concludes the introductory financial implications report on the per capita budget by the Assembly Committee on General Assembly Procedures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you. The moderator recognizes Commissioner Sam Evans, moderator of the Committee on Mission Coordination.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am Sam Evans, ruling elder from the Chicago Presbytery and moderator of the Mission Coordination Committee. And our job is at the conclusion of this assembly to have the responsibility of recommending to you the mission budgets for 2013 and 2014. You've already seen the proposed mission budgets, which we saw at the beginning of this assembly. It's approximately $81 million for 2013, and it dips down to $78 million approximately for 2014. So we will daily present to you a summary between now and Saturday, the cost of doing action that the Assembly has approved so far, and we will advise you of the total financial implications of all the things that we're going to present on current and future budgets, as well as the financial implications yet to be acted upon. So on the screen, you can see the total financial implications of the items recommended by the Assembly committees pending before you. Do I have that? I guess I don't. For 2013, we already have a total amount of almost $1 million, $949,000. And for 2014, a total amount of $855,000, $311,000. So a detailed breakdown of this is on PC Biz, and you can find the report in the Plenary tab under 00F1. So how do we handle this funding? Well, the only way we can get the budget together, meet together, is either by reductions of staff or sources of new funding or adjustments to existing programs, or a combination of all of these. And so, Mr. Moderator, on Saturday morning, this Committee on Mission Coordination will present its final recommendation to the mission budget to the Assembly. Mr. Moderator, this concludes the first report of the Mission Coordination Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner. The moderator recognizes the stated clerk to share information concerning nominations.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The General Assembly Nominating Committee has received one floor nomination to report 00-02, Item A, Advisory Committee on the Constitution. GA Nominating Committee nominee Darrell Fisher Ogden has been challenged by Commissioner nomination for Catherine J. Runyon. There have been additions made to the GANC report. The General Assembly Nominating Committee has nominated two General Assembly Commissioners, Thomas Fleming and Nancy Ramsey, to the General Assembly Mission Council. You will find these additions, as well as a few additional nominations to the GANC report at 00-02K, 00-020, and 00-02Q. Floor nominations for these additions are due tomorrow, Thursday, July 5th by 2 p.m. Floor nomination forms for these additional positions may be found at the GA information booth. The General Assembly will act on the GANC report 00-02 on Friday morning. You have probably noticed that there are papers at your desks from some of the committees of the Assembly. For instance, the first committee to report today is the Assembly Committee on Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations, Committee Number 9. You have received two documents with 09 in the upper right-hand corner. One is 09I, and the other one is 09-RPT, or report. 09I is a listing of the business before Committee 9. 09-RPT is the report of that committee's recommendations for handling that business. The RPT version will show any additions, deletions, or rewording of what was originally presented on the I version. All this information is contained in what is on PCBiz, and hopefully these paper versions will simply be a backup to PCBiz. Commissioner and advisory delegates are the only ones that have these paper versions. Others will find the same material on PCBiz. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Friends, as we proceed to hearing reports from the first committee, I want to direct your attention to the colored papers that are on your tables. You should have a sky blue, an orange, and a black with some emoticons. We're going to be doing something new here in this assembly. We're going to use a form of consensus decision-making, where, as a way for us to gauge the body, both for me but also for one another, to gauge the body of where feelings are at. The blue is, I like it. I like the idea. The orange that has the frown is, no, I don't really like that idea. The black one is, I'm not sure, or I need more information or some clarification. Now, this is going to be done side by side with Robert's rules, right? The standing rules requires that we take a vote by either voice vote or electronic device. So we're still going to do Robert's rules, but this is a way for us to gauge or to poll where folks are at during the course of any particular discussion, particularly in those heated discussions that we sometimes get into. And so why don't we sort of practice this, all right? So if I make a statement like, I like coconut water. Oh, wow. Excuse me, okay. All right, hands down. What about, I am enjoying being here at Pittsburgh for the 220th General Assembly. Okay. Wow, okay. Some oranges, boy. All right. Well, fill out those evaluation forms for those who have orange. All right, so you get the point, okay? So in the course of our discussions, if there's a point where I sense that we need to get a sense, not vote right away, but just get a sense of an amendment or some motion or something that's on the floor, I'll call for us to raise these colored sheets. All right. Well, at this point, the moderator recognizes Commissioner Jane Dempsey Douglas, moderator of the Committee on Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations.
Mr. Moderator, commissioners and guests of the General Assembly, I am Ruling Elder Commissioner Jane Dempsey Douglas, moderator of Committee 9, the Assembly Committee on Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations. Scott Mann, Teaching Elder Commissioner, served as Vice Moderator. You will find our report, number 9, Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations, on PCBiz Committee 9, or on your briefing paper. Our report on your paper copy begins on page 1, Roman numeral 1, Committee Final Action and Report to the Plenary. The consent agenda contains 5 items. Item 902, invitation to send ecumenical advisory delegates to the 221st General Assembly, 2014. Item 0904, on participation in the 8th round of Reformed Catholic Dialogue. Item 0905, delegates to Church World Service and the National Council of Churches. Item 0906, delegates to the 10th Assembly of the World Council of Churches. Item 0909, 2008 referral. Item 704, on the orderly exchange of ministers and churches. Mr. Moderator, on behalf of the committee, I move the approval of the consent agenda.
All right. And the motion doesn't require a second. Is there any commissioner who would like to lift up any item for further discussion? Seeing no one approaching the microphones, the question is, will the Assembly approve the consent agenda, items 0902, 0904, 0905, 0906, en bloc? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is agreed to. The consent agenda is approved.
Item 0901, on celebrating the 45th anniversary of the Presbyterian Reformed Church in Cuba and the mission partnership between the PCUSA and the Presbyterian Reformed Church in Cuba. Mr. Moderator, on behalf of the committee, I move its approval.
Is there discussions or questions? Seeing no one approaching the microphone, the question is, will the Assembly approve item 0901? All those in favor say happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
All those opposed say no, and the motion is agreed to.
Mr. Moderator, in our committee, we had the joy of celebrating the anniversaries of 3 churches. The Presbyterian Reformed Church in Cuba, 45 years, the Evangelical National Church of Guatemala, 50 years, and the Presbyterian Church of Korea, 100 years. We also heard reports of great challenge and accomplishment from the ecumenical delegates on our committee, from the church in Lebanon and Syria, and from Assemblies of God. Our committee formed a prayer circle around the ecumenical delegates from these 5 churches as we laid on hands and prayed. Committee members signed prayer cards for these churches and placed them in bowls. You will find the bowls at the back of the plenary hall along with extra prayer cards. We invite all commissioners, advisory delegates, and observers to add prayer cards to the bowls. We would like to invite the Reverend Francisco Vicente Marrero Gutierrez from the Presbyterian Church in Cuba and the Reverend Miguel Fernando Estrada Salvador from the Evangelical National Church of Guatemala to address the Assembly and to receive an anniversary gift of Thanksgiving from the 220th General Assembly 2012. A gift has already been presented to the Presbyterian Church of Korea.
Mr. Moderator, on behalf of the Presbyterian family in Cuba, I want to say again, thanks so much. Thanks for this recognition to our young church that this year celebrates its 45th anniversary. God bless you. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, it's an honor and a big privilege to be here with you today and to share in this assembly. It was 1882 when the Reformed tradition arrived to Guatemala. And after 80 years, we become an independent church over there. Through all this time, we have been blessed with the companion and the partnership of all of you, something that we are really grateful about it. Thank you very much on behalf of your sisters and brothers from the Presbyterian Church in Guatemala.
Friends, on behalf of your Presbyterian brothers and sisters gathered and those throughout our denomination, we offer a symbol of our affection and our gratitude for the steadfastness of your faith and your testimony to the gospel in season and out of season.
Our next item is item 0903, Review of the World Council of Churches. Mr. Moderator, on behalf of the committee, I move it be approved. After the consideration of this item, we would like to invite Natasha Klukac, the Program Executive for Church and Ecumenical Relations of the World Council of Churches, to address the Assembly.
Okay. The motion is before you, friends, item 0903 from the committee. Are there questions or comments? Seeing no one approaching the microphone, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. And the motion is agreed to. The item is approved.
Could we invite?
Yes.
Yes.
The moderator recognizes Natasha Klukac.
Moderator, stated clerk, brothers and sisters, thank you for the warm welcome that you have extended to me and to all of the ecumenical guests. It is very good to be among you. It is my honor to bring you greetings from the World Council of Churches, and especially the General Secretary, the Reverend Dr. Ulla Fixetveit. Your church is an invaluable member of the World Council of Churches, now a fellowship of 349 churches around the world. The fellowship includes 560 million Christians. Your global family gives thanks for your faithfulness and ministry, and I'm glad to be able to join you for these days in Pittsburgh as you work to guide your church in its ongoing mission and witness. The PCUSA has a long and strong tradition of engagement in the ecumenical movement, and the WCC specifically. We are thankful for the ways in which you invest in the global fellowship of churches spiritually, relationally, and financially. We appreciate the work that you have done in reviewing the Council because it shows just how seriously you take your ecumenical vocation. We are deeply grateful for the conscientious and dedicated service that numerous Presbyterians have offered and continue to offer in our governance, commissions, networks, and staff in Geneva. At the center of the quest for the visible unity of the Church and our desire to make common witness in the world is relationship. The ecumenical movement is a place of transformed perspectives as people encounter each other, as churches encounter each other, as we all encounter God at work in the lives of those who may be very different from us. To be open to this transformation is part of the calling that each of us has as Christians as we seek to be one that the world may believe. And we can carry out that vocation wherever we happen to be, in our local congregations and communities, just as we need to collectively carry out this calling nationally and internationally as denominational families. Throughout these days together, you are considering very serious matters related to the life of your church and your witness in the world. I'm particularly struck by your attentiveness to conditions within your communities, your country, and around the world where peace is elusive. The WCC, during the International Ecumenical Peace Convocation held last year in Jamaica, came to understand the peace that we seek as Christians in a very holistic way. Peace in the community, peace with the earth, peace in the marketplace, and peace among the peoples. Peace is at the heart of Christian discipleship. It is a response to Jesus' call, "Come and follow me." Being faithful to that call means we have to successfully challenge injustice, violence, greed, arrogance, corruption, and all other threats to the fullness of life for each person in this world. And we must do so in partnership with Christians of all confessions and with peoples of other faiths. We have to follow in the prophetic witness we are offered in the gospel, and that means not being limited by fear or inexperience of the other. For us, there can be no unity in Christ without justice and peace. The next General Assembly of the World Council of Churches is in Busan, Korea in 2013. The theme, God of Life, Lead Us to Justice and Peace, invites the churches of the fellowship to reflect even more deeply on these ideas. Korea, with its division between North and South, offers a poignant context to consider the work of the God of life in a world that is just too often fractured. Each of the churches who will participate are asked to consider their own contexts and what they will bring of their experience to share with the global Christian family. I know that the PCUSA will embrace this opportunity and will consider what gifts it will offer the fellowship of churches. How is the God of life at work in your church, in your country, leading you? Again, I thank you for the privilege of being here with you these days for your General Assembly. Part of my role at the WCC asks me to share in the lives of the member churches in North America, both to remind you of your ecumenical commitment, but also to hold up for the WCC your mission and ministry, that you may be prayed for and accompanied. I take back to Geneva the faithfulness with which you approach your deliberations here on issues of church governance, mission, local ministry, social justice, ecumenical relations, international affairs, and many others. I give thanks to God for who you are as the PCUSA, and I pray that the triune God of life will bless you and the communities in which you worship and minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klukac. Thank you.
Our next item is 0907, recommendations regarding covenant to adopt the Lund Principle. You will find the brief 1952 Lund Principle on the screen. Should not the churches act together in all matters except those in which deep differences of conviction compel them to act separately? The Lund Principle is embodied in numerous places in our denomination's constitution and is a central conviction in the ecumenical stance of the Presbyterian Church USA. Mr. Moderator, on behalf of the committee, I move it be approved.
All right, it's been moved. It's before the floor. Are there questions or comments on this item? Seeing no one approaching the microphone, the question is, will the Assembly approve item 0907? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Are there any abstentions? The motion is agreed to. The item is approved.
Item 0908, Commissioner's Resolution on a Green Church Ecumenical Network. This resolution reinforces policies already approved by the Presbyterian Church USA and efforts already in place in our denomination and in the National Council of Churches. Mr. Moderator, on behalf of the committee, I move it be approved.
Are there questions or comments? Seeing no one approaching the microphone, the question is, will the Assembly approve item 0908? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Are there abstentions? The motion is agreed to. The item is approved.
Mr. Moderator, our committee had one additional item before it on which no action was required. We spent an evening session discussing the document Christians and Jews, People of God, a contribution of the Presbyterian Church USA to the interfaith conversation. The paper was the result of a mandate of the 216th General Assembly, 2004, to, quote, re-examine and strengthen the relationship between Christians and Jews and the implications of the relationship for evangelism and church growth, end quote. We were invited, as you are, to provide our reactions and responses to the document. The final paper will be presented to the 221st General Assembly in 2014. We heard from Charles Wiley, Associate Director of Theology, Worship, and Education, and Rabbi Gil Rosenthal, Director of the National Council of Synagogues. The discussion that followed their presentations was thoughtful, insightful, honest, and lively. I would be remiss if I did not mention, as part of our report, that marvelous opportunity for community dialogue. Mr. Moderator, That concludes the report of the Assembly Committee on Interfaith and Ecumenical Relationships.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas, and thank you to members of the committee. Thank you. Well, friends, we've been going for a little over an hour now, and I wanted to just ask, using your cards, again, blue, I like it. Orange, no, I don't really like it. And the black one, I'm not really sure. Would you mind if we took a 3-minute break? Very clear. We will stand for a break, stand in recess for 3 minutes.